All righty, here we are. It's a Big Dave show and tell, and it's all about cicadas today. And joining us once again, the head cicada expert from Mount St. Joseph University here, Dr. Gene Kritsky. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. How are you doing?
All right. Can I just say College of Mount St. Joe, or what do we say?
Well, we became a university several years ago. So College of Mount St. Joe's past century. We're in a new one now.
All right. Let's just say Mount St. Joe, and everybody knows what we're talking about. Yeah. So we had you on a couple weeks ago to answer questions, and you guys feel free to ask Dr. Kritsky anything you want in the comments section as we're streaming live here on our B105 Facebook page. But Statman over the weekend, let me tell you this, Dr. Kritsky, he had been talking about how his house in Villa Hills, Kentucky was basically cicada central. And we went over and shot some video last week, and he's not lying. It is the loudest, noisiest, infested with cicadas that I've seen yet. I mean, pretty crazy, right, Stat?
I have the perfect conditions where I have small trees that kind of run down my driveway, and they've been there for probably 2 or 3 broods worth, and now they just love it. I got them everywhere.
Yeah, I'm going to pull this up, Doc, and you can just hear what it sounds like. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. This is the noise recording I took at Stat's house. Can you hear that?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's in the middle of the day right there. So, I mean, it's just insane. What is going on? Are there some areas where more are going to come out early or later? What's up?
Well, we're hearing 2 different species there. He's got the large species Septendecima and the smaller species Cassini, both singing in unison, both doing their thing, if you will, trying to attract a mate in Statman's front yard.
I was wondering because some of them are significantly smaller, and then there's like some bigger ones. So there's 2 different kinds?
There are actually 3 different species emerging this year simultaneously. The third one is pretty rare, probably like 5–10% of the time you'll find those. But you clearly had the calls of 2 different species there. And the large one is called Septendecima. It's the one that when you turn it over, it's mostly orange on the underside with some black stripe, if you will. The other one's entirely black.
And these are both, though, they're brood 10.
They're both brood 10. One of the weird things about cicadas is there are 3 different species that evolved to come out simultaneously. Now, in nature, they separate out. The large one likes upland areas with oaks, and the other one likes some more lowland floodplain areas with some more edge effects and what have you. And then there's the one in between, which we find almost right in the margins between the 2.
Well, Statman, you found a rarity, and you want to see if Dr. Kritsky will give you some money. We debunked that urban legend, by the way, of them. But show him you found the blue-eyed cicada, and I'm going to make Stat the solo layout here a second, just so everybody can see. So this is a blue-eyed cicada that you found in your yard there. There you go. There's a good shot of it. And very rare. You say in 1 in a million. Dr. Kritsky, what do you have to say about this blue-eyed cicada?
They are quite rare. Although I've seen now, this is probably the 5th or the 6th that's been sent into cicada safari, or I've seen in the last week. It looks like it's some kind of a genetic anomaly, in that a lot of the pigmentation doesn't get expressed fully. So you have white eyes. I've even seen pink eyes now. We have seen photographs of some that are partially red, partially white. This, as you can see, is a nice pale blue to it. In this illustration that's up there right now. And it's estimated about 1 in a million. But you'll see it, in addition to the eyes being a little bit of different color, the leading wing vein also is mostly white.
Okay.
And so it looks like it could be some kind of a dilution gene. That's a gene that interferes with the full expression of another one.
There, let's get a little shot of him again there. So there he is hanging out on his leaf and his little things to eat on. So Stat had said that so if that blue-eyed cicada breeds with a red-eyed cicada, they're going to have red-eyed cicadas. But if it's blue and blue, they're going to keep going blue.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, we've the blue on blue is they're so rare that you're not likely to find 2 in the same place. Although I've seen some reports that but it just appears that it's the quick case in point. Excuse me. A Palomino horse, for example, is a chestnut with a dilution gene that stops the full expression of the darker horse color. So that may be what's at work here. We are not sure of the actual genetics in place, but they are as I said, I've seen about a half a dozen this year so far have been submitted.
Okay, so you're not going to give Statt $1,000 for it?
I'm afraid not.
All right, so we got Heidi. Heidi says that they found a blue-eyed one too. Heidi, can you comment back and let us know what part of town you're in? And you should have the Cicada Safari app that Dr. Kritsky has downloaded on your phone, so you can register these and send in a picture, and you would see it that way, wouldn't you?
Yes. Yes, and in fact, I had one of our approvers this morning email me that they had another one. This one came, I believe they said from somewhere out east, probably in the Carolinas or so.
Okay, Heidi just got back since she's in Delhi Township, right out by you, actually.
That's right, yeah.
The university there. Philip says, I still haven't seen any cicadas at my house. I hear them in the distance, but none at my house. Philip, if you can comment back what part of town you're from. But, I mean, I think, are we still in like an early wave, the early stages of these coming out? Or we keep getting these cold snaps. And like we said, over the weekend, so Saturday, especially Saturday and Sunday, my cicada activity, which was really starting to ramp up in Fort Mitchell, just became non-existent because of the cold, I guess. And then yesterday, the moment it got sunny and up into the mid-70s, they were just roaring again everywhere. Is that what happened?
That's what happens. Their of course they're going to be their activities going to be dependent on the temperatures. So the warmer it is, the more active and louder they'll get. The same happened here in up in the west side. I'm up in the Dent region. It was non-existent on Saturday. We did collect quite a few, and they were sort of hanging out. But the ones we were finding were mostly diseased with the fungus or had already mated. But I was very happy yesterday when my wife, Jessie, and I went out mapping cicadas all through northern Kentucky and southeastern Indiana, that they were just screaming in the warmer and sunnier.
Well, a couple of days of rain coming, and then we start ramping up into the lower to mid 80s for highs. And I think that's when, I mean, are there still a lot of them still waiting to come out? Or are they?
It depends on the areas. Some areas where they're very heavy right now, they probably run their course. But last night I found emerging nymphs at my place, so there's still some coming out. Mm-hmm. The days that it got really cold, those sort of stopped the clock on those days. And so we have nowhere to go.
Her husband has sent them into your app. They have taken over her backyard in Delhi. Jamie says, my yard is covered with them. I love these little critters. Anita, I raked up almost a full 5-gallon bucket of these skeletons. Thank you, Anita, by the way, in Middletown. What do we refer to those as? The thing that they come out of, the skeleton? What's the best way to refer to those?
I like to call them skins, but the technical term is exuvia. Exuvia is the plural, but that's kind of it's basically the skin of their last immature stage.
Okay,
and it's like a coat of armor that they wear when they crawl out of the ground, because they're really underneath there. You can see there's that splits almost immediately once they get up on the side of a tree or a wall, and the white, very, very delicate cicada emerges out of that. The adult, and so that skin functions as armor while they crawl out of the ground. Gotcha.
Amber says her coworker found an albino one, but I'm wondering if that was just because they're all like that as they're coming out of the shell, the skin, as you just said. And then they start to darken up after an hour or so. Amber, did it stay albino for long, or did they just not? I don't know. I'm imagining that's what was going on there.
Yeah. We call those tenorals. And after they emerge from then that's how insects grow. They can't grow like we do incrementally. They shed their skin and then they expand their body, and then it hardens, and they have that exoskeleton, the skeleton on the outside. And so, and it's certainly reasonable to call them, that people call them albino, because they're all white and they got these bright red eyes. And that's what we're used to thinking, that albino would have pink or reddish eyes.
Okay.
But it does take, they will darken over the course of a couple hours.
Diana says, I have seen one shell, but no actual cicadas yet. I hear them in the distance in Fayetteville, Ohio. And Anita has a good question, though, here. She says, what's the difference between a locust and a cicada?
Locusts are grasshoppers, and cicadas are cicadas. The misnaming them started back in 1715. That's the first time that cicadas were called locusts. And the attribution was because they noticed that it was assumed that they were the same locusts eaten by John the Baptist.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out in reality, we now recognize that he wasn't eating insects either. He was eating the locust tree, which is the carob. So people in Philadelphia in 1715 were gathering these things, splitting them open and eating them, thinking it was
because John the Baptist did it.
John Baptist did it.
Yeah, exactly. And locust, actually, I mean, if you had a horde of cicadas, I mean, you may have some tree damage and things like that, but a horde of locusts will destroy crops.
Right. They still have such plagues in Africa, and they literally come up by the hundreds of billions of these things, and they just devastate whole swaths of farmland. Periodical cicadas and cicadas don't have chewing mouth parts. They can't chew anything. They can puncture and suck fluids, but they do that they do most of that while they're larvae, or excuse me, while they're nymph. They're not larvae at the time, but they're immature. We call them nymphs, and so it's a very different phenomenon. But the idea that they come out in great numbers, that's the plagues of locusts. They were eaten by the Native Americans. That's John the Baptist ate these things. And just assumed that was what they were.
And John, Philip has, I'm sorry, not John, John the Baptist, you think of that. Philip says, does living near areas of a lot of farming have an effect on seeing cicadas?
It depends on the history of the area. For example, I used to live in Green Township, where back in the mid-90s, they went in and completely clear-cut everything to put in the infrastructure, the sewer lines, the underground power lines, what have you. Not a single cicada emerged there in 2004. But they flew in from 3/4 of a mile away.
And now, I mean, yeah.
So if you don't have any now, and you hear them in the distance, and if the population is large, they'll run out of egg-laying space where they're at, and they may disperse in, giving you hope for 2038.
So can I ask you a question, Stat? I don't know if you have anything to ask Dr. Kritsky too. I'm just out working in my yard. I mean, and they just, first of all, why do they always land upside down? I'm always constantly, I feel sorry for them, and I'll put my finger down there. They grab a hold of it, and I go put them on a fence post or something like that, and they just fly, for a lack of a better term, like idiots. I mean, they hit stuff and they run into you, and it's like, what? I mean, why are they doing that? Are they just so crazed, or what is it? Well,
not necessarily crazed. Their whole survival strategy is tied into feeding predators. And so there's no selection pressure for the Albert Einstein of periodical cicadas. It's they're doing their thing. If they land on you, it's not because they're aiming for you. You just walked into their flight path.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but in areas where there are lots of heavy mating going on and what have you, I have seen some cicadas actually get altitude and go up to the tops of trees. I've seen them actually swerve and be a little more agile. But some of these that we're seeing now have been out for a good week or so, and they're nearing the end of their life.
So they're getting a little nuts. Stat, did you have any questions?
Yes, since some of them are nearing the end of their lives and we're still getting them out of the ground, what is the average date, maybe a window of when they're going to be done with their mating and we're going to get our peaceful outdoors back?
Probably by the end of June. You'll start seeing a noticeable decline by the middle of June as far as the loudness and intensity. There'll still be some out there. When the cicada that I saw emerge last night, if it's not eaten by a predator, will last about a month.
Okay.
So it's that gives you the window. So it takes 2 full weeks for them all to come out, but the cold weather stopped the clock on those days.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So mid-June. And then other question, because I have a significant amount of skins piling up at the base of my trees. I had a friend come over and go, "What's that smell? Do you smell that?" And do cicadas have a smell?
Well, the shells don't smell because there's very little organic matter left, but the dead cicadas with them. You'll have several. You probably have several thousand gathering along with it, and they will they'll get wet in the rain and the nice warm temperatures. They'll start to rot, and yes, they will smell. That's actually now that smell will dissipate in a few days, and it's very helpful for those nutrients in those skins to go back into the soil around those trees.
That's what I was asking. Is it beneficial to just leave them, say, in your gardens or anything like that? Because once they start breaking down and go back into the soil, that's a good thing, right?
Yes. Yes. In fact, there's been some good experimental work that shows that it creates this nutrient cache below the soil. So it's nice. Just don't worry about cleaning them up. Just let them stay at the base of the tree, and they'll as they decay, those nutrients go down those holes that they emerged out of, and it'll help the tree and the cicadas for you next time around. Somebody,
Anita says, and I don't know if I've been seeing this going around this year. They drop pea from the trees. What is going on? That's like a thing. They're like a security system for them, or what is that?
In part, the cicadas don't necessarily eat, but they have to remain hydrated, and so they will get fluid from below the bark, just under the bark. And I have seen this as well. I've actually seen males actually shoot this fluid at other males and direct it. It's not pee in the sense of what our urine is like. It's basically just a dilute sugar solution. If there's any sugars in it at all, mostly water, just keep them hydrated, and they can shoot it.
But since it's coming out of their body, Anita's, let's go ahead and just call it pee. It's a cicada pee. Well, Dr. Kritsky, I know you've got a book. Have you got your book handy there that you can show us off?
I certainly can. Hold on right here.
You go right ahead. And he's got, of course, the wonderful app, Cicada Safari, that you can download with your kids. It's a lot of fun. You know, one time. There we go.
There's the book. And Cicada Safari, I'm tickled to tell you, we are approaching 400,000 photographs being submitted.
Wow. I got to send you in some too. Show up the book again there real fast. You got it right there. I got your full screen there. And where can you get this book? Amazon? And
they have it at Joseph Beth's. You can get it online from Amazon as well.
Nice. And you know what? It'd be good to sit down with your kids because, you know, and just learn about them. And there's Statt's blue-eyed cicada. One last visit there as we come in. Oh, look at that.
Pretty cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah, very neat. So, but you're not going to give them $1,000 for it.
Afraid not.
No,
man.
What about the mustache tips? There we go. Well, Dr. Gene Kritsky, thank you so much. Mount St. Joe University, old habit. You know, you haven't been to college since the last time the cicadas were out.
Well, that's true. That we were a college then, but I go back even further. I'm the longest serving faculty member there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's approaching 39, 40 years.
Oh, goodness. Well, I hope you're still doing it in 17 more years when Brood 10 comes back. But in the meantime, thank you guys very much for, keeping us up to date on this. And everybody that commented this morning, enjoy the cicadas. I mean, it's, you only get these things, if you're lucky, 4 times in your life, if you live a long life and see every 17 years. So enjoy.
Thank you. Definitely.
Yeah, Dr. Gene, have a great day and enjoy the next few weeks of cicada. This is your Black Friday, my man.
That's for sure.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Gene.
Thanks, that man.
Bye.
Bye.
That's awesome.